Bloggo's POW.
Right, let's have a look at 4 Super Nintendo shooters. Okay, so the first game is Xray. Right, so we begin by selecting our weapons. And of course you can only select one weapon at the start, so I don't know why I'm bothering.
Arms installation.
You haven't unlocked any yet. So yes, Xray starts off as an upward scrolling shooter. You have 3 weapons, so at the beginning you have this circle shot thing that goes around like that. We've got a high powered missile and a standard fireball shot at the front. Now what was cool about Xray was this like scaling mode 7 background here, which looks a bit primitive by today's standards, but looked absolutely fantastic at the time, even if you've got this weird brightening effect at the top of the screen as things scroll on, which I always found a bit strange. But does not detract from the overall gameplay and experience. This was released back in 1992, and I remember seeing it previewed in the back of CVG magazine. I don't think I had a Super Nintendo at the time when I saw it, and my brother bought it a few months later, sadly while I was living away from home. Using missiles on this because they're nice and powerful. So I didn't get to play it until a while later, because by the time I got home he'd finished it and traded it in for Street Fighter 2, which, you know, takes over your life. Yes, we picked up a Japanese import of it, and things were good. That wasn't even a boss. Now the interesting thing about Xray, the weapon system means you can potentially take 3 light hits and lose the weapon you're using. Not like that, that's a direct hit. And when you've lost all 3 of your weapons, an alarm sounds indicating that one more hit means certain death. And obviously crashing into these walls would mean certain death, but you would see what I mean if I'd just got hit by a single bullet or something. Right, coming up to the first boss. Nice big bosses here in Xray. Not particularly challenging. As soon as you knock this big spider's web generator out, it gets a lot easier. But you don't have any smart bombs or, you know, super weapons to unleash. It literally is the 3 weapons you have installed on your ship. Destroyed the web generator. Switch to some missiles. There we go. So you see on the weapon select screen now, still got the the same 2 primary weapons, and then the 3rd missile weapon I could have a different one, but I'm going to stick with the standard one.
Good luck.
Now here we see the difference with Xray. You've now got a sideways scrolling 2nd level. The levels alternate between upward scrolling on levels 1, 3 and 5, and sideways scrolling on 2, 4 and 6. There are only 6 levels. It's not a massively long game. So what is annoying about Xray is the ending where it says "See you in Xray 2" in a cheery way, just for it never to happen. This was an absolute bastard, because I love this game. Ah, yes, I remember now. This level's a love letter to Gundam fans, because it appears that this sideways scrolling event is all set inside one of those large tubular space colonies that are quite the rage in the Gundam OVAs and the movies. There's an interesting, but well, not interesting point. At this bit here where you can see the planet in the background used to corrupt if you played a import version of this, so an NTSC copy on a PAL Super Nintendo through an adapter. It would sort of corrupt in the background. It wouldn't affect the gameplay, but it was just a little annoying. Of course, playing this on a NTSC Super Nintendo, I mean, this stuff doesn't happen. Not that I'd have a PAL copy of the game anyway, but you know. 60 Hz elitist and everything. We're just getting to the second boss now. There we go. A really nicely animated 2-legged walker thing. Knock out its turret on the bottom to make things easier. We're doing this with some missiles, so you can see I've lost my middle weapon now, so. You can see it's, I go to it, it flashes out. It's going to do its laser attack in a second, maybe. No, it's not. There it goes. Ruining part of the ceiling as it does it. Brilliant. Yes, that's definitely a lot easier by keeping that particular weapon power up. The ground missiles that it unlocks aren't particularly good for that. And again, we've unlocked some more weapons, so let's have a quick go with that needle cracker, which is the new one I've unlocked.
Good luck.
And we'll have a quick on the third stage. Needle cracker's got a little bit of homing capabilities, which is quite useful for this bit. I've lost it already. Oh well. It's only about the top of the screen getting lighter and it gets darker as it scrolls forward, even on this nighttime state. It's a little bit strange. Nods to Salamander there with the anti-aircraft fire coming up. Skipping on a bit, we're up to the mid-stage mini-boss. Giant pair of binoculars. Laser-fine binoculars, you know, just like the ones your granddad used to have. Oh shit. This is not going to go well. So yes, I'd say Xray is a really good game, definitely worth playing. It's probably going to get a bit pricey these days, as most Super Nintendo and also most shooters get these days. But should you manage to find it out there in the wild, worth picking up. It's definitely one of my favourite games on the system. It's just this music's so good and the graphics are showing that Konami at the top of their game, and it was absolutely excellent. So track it down and play it if you can, and then lament the fact there was never a sequel. Next up, we have Phalanx. Phalanx. There we go. So let's start the mission. So first mission is the assault. Get ready. So yes, Phalanx isn't a particularly inspiring shooter, I must say. I must also say it has possibly the best artwork of any Super Nintendo game. No, not that artwork. That artwork. No idea what even was the deal with that banjo playing weirdness. Anyway. It is a straightforward by-the-numbers shooter. Doesn't really look like a Super Nintendo game. It's like, I don't know, almost like something that started life on a PC Engine. I mean, it's not to diss the PC Engine, but it's not technically advanced, really, looking-wise, to be really like a Super Nintendo game, but hey ho, caution apparently. And I really can't remember how the weapon system works. Oh, there we go, you've got a switch button between. And you see the bosses are a little bit small and a little bit weedy and just rely on giant patterns of bullets coming out like this. And your ship's a bit large and dear, it's all a bit boring and a bit bland. Interesting fact though, if you've got, I think it's Zero Divide on PlayStation 1, there's a code to unlock and play Tiny Flanks, which is a cut down version of this apparently. which is interesting. And you can also, strangely enough, get Phalanx on the Game Boy Advance. There we go. Who knew, eh? Well, people who've got it, I suppose, but... it isn't, it's a very, very pedestrian shooter. And because of this stupid banjo thing, even the US version commands a pretty high price tag these days. I read an article years ago about the origins of that stupid banjo cover, and there was a reason to it. I can't for the life of me remember who wrote the article, where I read it, or what the reason was. So maybe, you know, I imagined it. If you've read that article, comment below. Yeah, it's not the most interesting shooter, is it? I mean, sounds are okay, I suppose. But, skipping on a bit, the boss has come back. He's got sort of the same power attacks, and I've got this strange overshot weapon, which wasn't very good, and has wasted my laser. Bollocks. I don't like it when you've got a like a smart bomb weapon which you have to sacrifice a existing weapon power up to use. That's a bit annoying. Oh, was that not even the boss of the level? That's underwhelming, disappointing. So already the levels are starting to sort of outstay their welcome. This is getting a bit of a slog and I want to see something different. Oh, warning, here comes another. Right, maybe this is the real boss. Maybe a bit bigger and a bit more impressive, maybe? Let's have a look. Now that looks like a boss from, I don't know, something on the Mega Drive. Not a particularly inspiring Mega Drive game. I've got no weapons, I bet you. There'll be no weapons forthcoming from here on in. Ah, flap. Yeah, not particularly inspiring or a particularly good shooter. You know, buy it for the artwork. Or if you just happen to really like banjos. So here we are, EDF, Earth Defence Force. Funny thing with this game is if I have friends over, friends who, you know, not necessarily into retro gaming, played a lot of PlayStation and 360 stuff, see this on the shelf and go, shit, EDF came out on the Nintendo, did it? And they're thinking about EDF as in Earth Defence Force, you know, hordes of ants and people whizzing around on jetpacks. Third-person shooter, which you should play if you've not played it, by the way. And then I said no, it's a different game. No, it's not. But then it makes me think about how a Super Nintendo version of that EDF would actually work. Anyway, on to this game. So this is one of those Jaleco games, which means, you know, it's going to be a bit average. This actually does have a special place in my heart, despite being incredibly average. I really like the music on this. I really like the main design of the spaceship. The levels are really boring. The power-up method is absolutely terrible. You get XP, for want of a better word, each time you destroy something, and a little bar at the top of the screen goes up. And when it goes up to the top, you level up your weapons. And you can only pick your weapon at the beginning of the stage. Oh shit. So you can't change to a different weapon halfway through unless you lose a life. Of which you have one. Because you have a shield. And whichever weapon you pick has 2 modes. Like so. It's a very limiting system. It's not a particularly interesting game, but I do sort of prefer it over Phalanx. You also get no like smart bomb weapon either on this. See, that's really annoying. I'll sort of try and continue, but with a different weapon. Let's go with homing. The homing weapon is one of those weak shots which but you can get to anything on the screen with. And you see, even though I've used a credit, I have kept my level. So I'm on level 2 of my power up now, which is slowly filling each time I shoot something. Very strange system, but it would be really frustrating if it reset to 0 when you continued. It would be really annoying. I think what we'll do is we'll skip ahead a bit to the first boss. So right, so it turns out I'm actually really shit at this, and I've just wasted a further 2 credits and died in exactly the same place, and there's no checkpoints, so I've gone back to the beginning of the level again, and the only progress I've made is building up my power meter a bit. So yeah, that sucks balls. I doubt if I'm going to make even to the first boss, which is bizarre because I used to be very good at this and now I'm not. Anyway, so yeah, it's don't listen to me, even though I like it. It's objectively not a particularly good game. However, it might be worth, if you've got MAME, trying the arcade version, because that's pretty good. It's also 2 players in the arcades. There's more enemies on screen. The enemies are bigger. They're a bit small and weedy in comparison on this. So worth a go with that. But aside from my strange affection for this game, there's nothing really to recommend here. Maybe the next game we play will be a bit more, what should we say, good. So finally we're on to Macross Scramble Valkyrie. And if you know Macross, you'll know these guys. Rick Hunter, Maximilian Genius and Miriah Sterling. Yeah, not really. Okay, Japanese names are there at the top. Of course, Hikaru, Maximilian, so we're going to go for Hikaru. We got a new machine for the fighting. Now the time to scramble Valkyrie again. Now this is a more interesting shooter. There's a lot of different stuff going on here. First off, you can transform into 3 different modes. So you've got your fighter, your go walk, and your battleroid. And also, you don't fire. You get this weird mystical field, which means you can capture something. So there we go, capture the little satellite thing. It'll do some damage, but some things you can capture are better than others. Some things you can't capture at all. Mainly some of the bigger things, but I could probably capture that actually. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, now that's part of the gang. Brilliant. Each of your different modes you can power up 3 times. So at the top you can see I've powered the fight up 3 times. Whoa, boom. And the go walk and battleroid can be powered up as well. So that's nice. So let's power up the go walk a bit. It's got these funky grenades coming out the top and bottom. And that's a bonus of some description. You do have lives, I believe. I know you've got obviously a health bar there at the top. I can't remember at this point whether you have a live counter of lives as well. When you do get hit, you do lose one of your current power-ups as well. So I'm down to two power-ups on the fighter now. Oh shit. So already a lot more interesting than the likes of Phalanx and EDF. I wonder if I can capture one of these bits of space junk. No, I can't. Oh, there's our black hole bomb thing going on there. Oh god, that's bugging up my plans for world domination, hasn't it? Things got a bit mental. That's the first boss firing those. We can't be that far away. Well, I say he, could be a she, because that's a thing in Macross. The bad guys are sexually segregated between the Zentradi and Meltradi. And those laser beams nearly segregated me from my life. Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, so you do only get one life. Okay, let's give that a go. Right, starting over now, I've started off with Miriah instead of Hikaru. And again, things are slightly different. You've still got the 3 different modes to transform into, but you've got different weapons for each one now. Miriah, rather than having that spread shot, has this rapid fire fireball thing, some pink toenail clippings for the girl walk, and a big blast for the battleroid. So that's all nice and handy. Let's capture this guy again. Maybe I should capture something different in a minute. Alright. Seems to be plenty of opportunity for powering up here. I think I'll capture a different alien to help me. Oh, I really wanted one of those. Let's go down and have him. Yeah. Oh, there was some power, shield power down there, but oh, I missed it. Never mind. That's a Meltradi battle pod. That's a woman. Obviously not very happy to see me. If you know Macross, you know that the Meltradi are to be feared. Very, very adept warriors, while the Zentradi just a bit bumbling. And humans stuck in the middle of it all just get completely shafted. Oh, there we go, here's the real boss. Oh, Jesus Christ. The boss isn't particularly keeping in with them across design. doesn't really look like anything I've seen in a Macross game before, but you know, I suppose that's the way it goes sometimes. Bit of artistic license. And one more hit and it's all over. Oh, what's it doing now? It thinks it's from Gradius. That seems to be a fairly safe space to sit, doesn't it? Hey, there we go. That wasn't such a chore now, was it? Okay, so stage 2. We've got all our power back. Let's try and capture one of these things. Don't know if that's going to be any better. Well, that's sort of well, it sort of follows the contour of the ground there. That's quite handy. The captured enemy power-ups aren't particularly useful. I'll capture that. I can capture that. Oh, and that fires backwards. That's about as useful as a chocolate teacup. Especially when you can't shoot the barrier like that. The flying toenail launcher isn't particularly useful at the moment because it's not very well powered up. You can capture one of those bread bins on the ground. No, I can't. So yeah, Macross. It is one of the more unusual Super Nintendo shooters. It does command a high price these days. Oh lord, he does it. But should you find a copy for a reasonable price, do not hesitate to pick it up because it is really good. Some of the later levels are really pretty. So definitely worth picking up. Or you know, you could just bung it on your EverDrive if you've got an EverDrive, or play it on a Raspberry Pi, or should you be lucky enough to actually have the precognition to download the ROM before they all disappeared. But you know, it's the way shit goes sometimes. So yeah, have a go, see what you think. It's one of the ones I'd recommend. So that was 4 Super Nintendo shooters. What did you think of those games? Comment below.
Yeah, subscribe or naff off.